Before deploying to Heroku, we need to add a little configuration. We'll start with the gem file. We can see here that the SQLite 3 gem is in the development and test environment, but not in production. This is a database adapter gem that is not supported at Heroku, so it's really important that this be inside of this group environment. And then what we'll do is add the database that Heroku does use, which is necessary even though the Hello app doesn't use a database. And this is in the production group. This syntax, by the way, is explained later in the tutorial, as you might imagine. It's not important to understand it now. This is the PG gem for PostgreSQL, also called Postgres for short. So this is how you put in the gem, but remember that I mentioned that you should always use the version online. And that's this version here, the final gem file for this chapter. You can copy it like this if you want, but it's easier just to go to raw, select all, copy, and paste. By the way, you can see that it actually moved. I put it below this. For some reason, I'd like to put it here, usually. This is very Windows specific down here. But the ordering doesn't actually matter. So let's save that. And now this is an important command. We're going to bundle install again. But we're going to install without production. In fact, we can do bundle install. Let's check it out. Right, and so we see that there's an error. This is because Postgres is not supported on the Cloud IDE. But we can do this. -- without production. And there we go. That didn't actually add any gems because the only gem we added here is only in the production environment. But it did update the lock file, which is needed by Heroku. Let's commit it. And now we need to create the remote application using the Heroku command. In order to get this command to work, you'll first have to sign up for a Heroku account at Heroku.com. And once you've done that, you'll be ready to run the Heroku command, which, as you can see, is not currently installed on the Cloud IDE. Heroku has documentation for how to install it on various systems. For this particular system, I've put together the commands needed to install Heroku using the same basic technique we used to install Yarn earlier on in this chapter. I just copied the command from the tutorial, and here it is. Now which Heroku is working? We can say Heroku -- version, and there we go. As usual, the exact version numbers may differ. At this point, we're almost ready to create the application. We just need to log in first like this. Now by default, Heroku login tries to spawn a new browser, which won't work on the Cloud IDE. So here I'm going to say -- interactive. Now that we're logged in, we can create the remote application using Heroku create. Here's the URL. So there's nothing there yet. It's just a blank application. But at this point, we're ready to deploy. All we need to do is push our repository up to Heroku, and Heroku will take care of the rest. By the way, you might have noticed that there are some warning messages. Those are safe to ignore for now. We'll be addressing them in a later chapter. Let's take a look. Let's refresh our app. Hello world, in production. You can see here, this URL is actually on the web. Yours, of course, will differ, but it's a subdomain at herokuapp.com. This is really a remarkable accomplishment. Even though it's a very simple application, It's on the live web. This is the kind of thing that in the early days of web application development was practically impossible to do. But here we've done it in the first chapter.